60. It is good to see Sid Reger and Stanley Chepaitis back with us in the studio again. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good to have you both here. Our conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Of course, we got the news just, what was it, last week or this week maybe even, about congressional redistricting. That's only part of the whole formula here. Fair Districts PA is the name of the organization that you folks are with, and today is a very special day. Wish it was yesterday when the weather was much nicer, but it is what we have, Sid, isn't it?
Well, it is what we have. This is a statewide day that was set aside to call attention to redistricting processes, and we wisely, I think, decided to move our rally to Saturday. So Saturday from 4:30 to 5:30, we'll be over at RMC Park, and we'll be talking about redistricting and about a new bill that's up that's going to help a lot in that process.
Mm-hmm. Pennsylvania will lose one congressional seat. Right. Both the congressional districts and the legislative districts will have to be redrawn, as happens after the census every 10 years. And there was a hiccup, if you will, in the last redrawing, and they were redrawn again. They were redrawn, Stanley, I guess.
Some of them were. The congressional districts were redrawn, and the result of that redrawing was a more or less even split between the two major parties in congressional seats in Pennsylvania, which is a good thing in a way because it reflects the actual population of Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. Before that redrawing, the Republican Party had gained an advantage, actually of 13-5 over the Democratic Party, and that was a direct result of the redistricting that was done in 2011, which mm-hmm. we would, term a gerrymander. Mm-hmm. Actually judged to be one of the worst gerrymanders in the United States at the time. Now, the legislative districts are state senators and state representatives. Those districts have not been changed. Mm-hmm. Were not affected by the lawsuit, not part of that at all. So, mm-hmm. so the process essentially is still in place exactly the way it was in 2011, because every one of Fair District's attempts and legislators' attempts to change the process have failed. As you may know, in 2017, 18, and 19, we were supporting bills that would have created an amendment to the Pennsylvania Constitution that would have established an independent commission to draw those districts. None of those bills ever came to the floor of the state legislature for a vote. So now that process is timed out because it was a multi-year process. Mm-hmm. So what we have now that we're supporting is a simple bill before the legislature. Both houses have a version. It's House Bill 22, Senate Bill 222, called the Legislative and Congressional Redistricting Act, or LCRA. Mm-hmm. What LCRA does is takes the existing process as spelled out in the Pennsylvania Constitution and intends to make it better, to reform it in three very special ways. Mm-hmm. Those, we could boil that down to three words, really. The words are transparency, accountability, and responsiveness. Mm-hmm. Transparency means that there will be a ongoing website during the process that will contain all the information, all the data, all the deliberations of the redistricting committee. And their deliberations will be live streamed, so Pennsylvanians will have complete access to the process. Accountability means that there will be ongoing forums, town halls online, if you will, where citizens can respond, can discuss, can even submit their own proposals. There's even a organization called Draw the Lines that has people using the same software, and several maps have been drawn already. And so there are a lot of knowledgeable people out there that can respond and actually have some voice in the process. Yeah. Now, both these add up to the quality of responsiveness, to craft a state government that is responsive to the will of the people in ways that it was not 10 years ago.
Yeah. Sid, the whole concept of redrawing districts, whether they're legislative or congressional, it's something that people have been pointing for and asking for quite some time. Of course, this is an off year, so those offices won't be up for election in this year, so this is the ideal time to do it. But at the same time, there's a frustration level that, you've been working on it so long, since the last election and the one before that, been working on fair districts, and it still hasn't happened. And so there's that feeling that it never will. But that's what fair districts is about, making sure that it does.
Well, yes, and we have because of the way our process is set up, and because so far we have not had the transparency and we've not had the responsiveness, it's very easy for some legislators to come in with very excellent ideas about what they'd like to see happen and not be able to get those things happen regardless of the issue. And so we're calling attention to that as well, in the sense that whatever issue you care about, this notion of redistricting is going to play into it one way or another. Mm-hmm. So we're really hoping to get people together. Let me just say one more thing about our event, which is we're calling it Furry Friends for Fair Districts, and we're inviting people to bring well-behaved dogs and children. And because we've all been indoors and we've all been isolated for a long time, and we think that there's a good way to take this issue and also make it fun at the same time we're making the point.
Yeah, absolutely. And people need to have that sort of engagement where it's not a bunch of people screaming and yelling at each other, and understand that the political process is supposed to be a collaborative process.
Yeah, that's exactly right. This will really come down to what Thomas Jefferson described as a educated, informed, and engaged electorate. Mm-hmm. Because transparency doesn't work if no one's looking.
Yeah,
and accountability doesn't work if no one's holding the system to account.
Yeah.
And we don't get responsiveness in our government unless we demand a response and do it often and continuously and don't take no for an answer. Mm-hmm. And I think, the LACRA bill is a very good bill, but it's going to have to pull and depend for its success on the people of Pennsylvania, because they're really the ones that are going to make it work.
Yeah, and as bipartisan as you can make it is going to be the key to whether or not it gets through.
Absolutely. I think all Pennsylvanians of whatever political stripe should be interested in fair redistricting, and redistricting that represents all the people of Pennsylvania, not just the big money donors and the political base and so on.
Is there a speaker coming on Saturday? Or will there be a speaker, I guess is the better way to put it.
I think you're looking at him.
Or to my right or to my left?
Both.
Both.
Yeah, we do a stereo presentation.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. I'm glad it's not George and Gracie or anything like that. It's two people who can really tackle the issue, because it's a very, very complicated issue that I'm sure many people don't understand.
And that's part of why we keep coming back and doing this over and over again. This is an educational process. Citizenship is not for the faint of heart. If we're going to be good citizens, we need to be up to speed on some of these issues that sound pretty complicated. So it's our job to help simplify those issues in ways that everybody can grab onto what they really want and need out of their state government.
As someone who has personally taken the effort to make the journey to Elbridge Gary's gravesite in the Congressional Cemetery in Washington, D.C., I can say, here. But it's really a fascinating process that happens in our country, and it happens every 10 years with the census. I'm sure you weren't surprised. I don't think very many people were that Pennsylvania was going to lose a congressional seat.
No, that's population-based.
Yeah, and being population-based, we're such a huge geographic state that whoever is, in this district, we saw it last time with the redrawing of the district, and now this county is a part of Glenn G.T. Thompson's 15th district. We've seen how wide that is. It's probably going to get wider still. That representative is going to have to cover an awful lot of ground and answer to a whole lot of different congressional viewpoints. Mm-hmm. And I think particularly of this district, that would be the case.
Does he actually have an office in Indiana?
Not that I'm aware of.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that I think people, this whole process of the last redrawing and the way that the election goes is we need representation. In order to have representation, we need to have people who are going to be available to us. And it's really difficult to get. And as we get wider geographically, it's going to be even different. Or even more difficult, I think. Anyway, those people who live in their congressional representatives' home community, they're going to be much better off than people who live in more remote areas.
That's right. It's a little hard to get the interests of Indiana County even before the legislature, either at the state level or congressional, because, among other things, Indiana County is divided up into 4 different state districts. Mm-hmm. So you have to talk to 4 different people if you're talking about a county-wide issue. And it makes it unnecessarily complex, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. When we think about congressional districts, we're running out of time here. Congressional districts, as opposed to legislative districts, they're equally important. And in some cases, a lot of people would say the legislative districts are even more important.
That's where you have access. That's where local communities of interest can actually reach and talk to a person and, send their message of interest to the state legislature.
Yeah.
It's very important.
And we're fortunate that no matter who has been in office, Republican or Democrat, they've all used this radio station to reach out to people. And we certainly want to keep that line of communication open.
Absolutely. Yes. And I personally am very grateful for it, because I think a lot of people in areas like Indiana County, we do still depend on our radios. We still listen, no matter when. Put them on in the car.
Keep it up,
go.
Sid.
You betcha.
All right, one more time. Give a boost to the event coming up Saturday.
The event is 4:30 to 5:30 at IRMC Park on Saturday afternoon. Please bring your kids and your well-behaved dogs. And we're going to take a little stroll around the block just to call attention to this issue, and we'll have some materials available for people who want to learn more.
And people that want to learn more online, I'm sure there are many different sites.
FairDistrictsPA.com. Is it .com or?
.com.
Yeah.
FairDistrictsPA.com.
Yes.
Wonderful. Sid Reger, Stanley Chepaitis, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having us.
It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160. AM 1160.